Navigating today's real estate market can be tricky. Want to buy or sell a house, finance or insure a house, or stuck with a house and don't know what to do? Florida Talk Real Estate has been your local one-stop real estate shop since 2012. Get the advice you need from your local real estate pros. Here are your hosts, Jim DePola and Johnny C. live on Real Radio.
Oh, it's always so good to have you with us on a Saturday. Florida Talk Real Estate, whether you're listening on 92.1, 101.7, wherever you might be on your iHeartRadio app, thank you very much. And of course, good morning to those joining us on Facebook. Hey, everybody. It's Facebook. You'll find us Florida Talk Real Estate on Facebook, on YouTube as well, Florida Talk Real Estate LLC. We do go live. Thank you for being with us. And you got a toll-free way to be a part of the show with your questions, comments, concerns in the world of real estate. Pick up your phone, dial 877-927-6969. Jimothy will line you up. We'll get you on the air. And we do have the team assembled to handle so much of your questions or your concerns. We got a team put together every Saturday of professionals. Let's get your starting lineup on this Saturday. Good morning to you. I'm your boy, Johnny C. I got Mike Rao, the mortgage guy from the mortgage firm. Good morning to you, my friend Michael. How are you?
Good morning, Johnny C. Good morning, radio audience.
Nice to see you as always, my friend. As we keep going around.
And Facebook audience, sorry. And YouTube audience. Holy cow, we're expanding.
They can see you.
Hi, guys.
Hey, everybody. Speaking of seeing you, if you're watching right now, upper right-hand corner, at least I hope it's that way on your screen. It is on mine. We got the big dog, y'all. We go over to the law offices of Paul A. Krasker, and you know who's sitting right there in his office right now? That's Paul Krasker. Good morning to you there, Governor. How are you, Counselor?
Good morning. Everything's great. How about you?
Oh, I'm good. It's always nice to see you, my friend. I hope things have been well in your world.
Yep.
Good. Busy, healthy, that's all we can ask for. And as we talk about busy and healthy, and that's all we can ask for, that's what we lean on. It's our guy. It's my guy, Jimmy D. Talk about busy, and he's always running around. Healthy, because he's Mr. Dependable. We pretty much got him every Saturday, or really every 6-7 days a week for, 52 weeks a year. Heck, pretty much depend on my guy, Jimmy D. Jim DePolo with Keller Williams Preferred Partners. He runs a top-producing Keller Williams team. Hello, Jimmy D.
Well, I have a confession. Good morning, everybody. Mr. Dependable didn't do enough show prep today, so I'm kind of going through the articles while you're talking. So I'm going to let you guys talk a little bit more while I'm just trying to pull up a couple articles. But let me tell you what we are going to talk about today once I get my stuff together. I'm so happy that Paul's here today, Paul Krasker from the law office of Paul A. Krasker. If you want to check him out, you just go to kraskerlaw.com. You know, we've been putting out anybody watching the show that has questions about missing mortgage payments and mortgage forbearance and the CARES Act, and maybe, oh my God, I don't know how I'm going to pay my mortgage when it's due again. This is going to be an excellent episode, but you can get all this information 24/7 on our YouTube page, Florida Talk Real Estate LLC. And we have a playlist, and we're going to be adding today's new updated information into that playlist. So there's just going to be probably a dozen videos talking from all experts and perspectives of how to deal with missed mortgage payments. And let me tell you, those videos that are on YouTube, those are the ones that are getting the most action right now.
Good.
So that tells us that we know that there's a lot of people out there that have needs. So even if you don't have a need, you might have a friend or a loved one or somebody you know in your circle, a coworker that's in trouble with their mortgage, and just point them to our direction. It's really, really great information. Can't wait. We're also going to talk about a little bit about a market update. We're going to talk interest rates with Mike Rao and just talk about where we are with interest rates on Mike Rao. And if we can get to it, I'm not promising, but there was an article I saved from a couple of weeks ago talking about the 10 most common ethical violations realtors make. And I thought having Paul here, there's a really great weekly session Paul does called Better Call Paul. And it's every Thursday. I think it's every Thursday, if not mistaken. And he talks about all this insider legal stuff that's really great for agents to consume. So if you're an agent and you're not on with Better Call Paul, you're missing out on some really great stuff over there. And recently, you just did something on ethical violations and stuff like that, Paul, didn't you? I think it was 2 or 3 weeks ago you did something on that. Is that correct?
Yep. Trying to give the agents a little heads up of the most common reasons they get in trouble.
Yep. So
I feel like we came up with that name on this show. Is that right, Paul?
Better Call Paul?
Yeah.
No, I think it's a direct ripoff from that Better Call
No,
Paul.
I know. But I feel like we first said came up with it like, hey, Better Call Paul on the show. I feel like it was live. Maybe I'm misremembering. I know it's a ripoff.
It could be. As long as you guys ripped it off and I didn't rip it off, it's fine with me.
I'll take credit for it. I've been hacking since I've started on radio. So
it sounds like something you would have come up with, John.
Yeah. Well, actually, I was leaning towards you, Mike, to tell you the truth.
Well, me too. Sounds like something I could have come up with as well.
Yeah,
but I wouldn't put it past you. No, there's no way Jim came up with that. We know that much.
Well, actually, guys, I have it on tape, and I did come up with it, and I sent it to him. I did say it to him, and he did not like it. And if you see the face on that tape, Paul did not like me saying that, so I stopped as soon as I did that.
Oh.
That was the only time I brought it up, and he didn't like it. So that was
all right. So if HBO, or is it HBO who does that? Is it? Oh no, it's oh geez.
It was originally Breaking Bad, right? And then
Breaking Bad,
separate show.
Yeah, but they were on.
I think it's FX. I think it's FX, but I'm not positive.
No, anyway, well, they know who to sue now.
Exactly,
Jim. I hope you got a good lawyer.
Yeah, I do. Actually, I have this guy.
Better call Paul. Yeah,
Better call Paul. I'll tell you what. Looking at Paul's desk, he's either taking over the recycling program at his office, or he's pretty busy.
Yeah. That's why I'm here today. Yeah.
To try to clean the desk up a little bit. Yeah, it looks like it could use an overhaul. You're a little busy. Yes, a little busy.
Okay, hold on. I'm almost there, guys. So just bear with me. So keep talking.
We can keep chattering away.
We're still. I'm sorry. I thought I didn't know you were literal in like stall mode.
Hey,
I thought you were just
I'm
kind
in
of
stall mode right now. Okay, I got it. Okay, I got it now. Okay, go ahead.
I was going to say on that subject with the ethical violation, like what's number one? Unless you're going to talk about this whole thing, Jim, but what's number one thing real estate agents are doing that they don't quite know or they're crossing the line?
Yeah, I think the biggest issue is not understanding what a single agent and a transactional agent mean, and breaching their obligation from one to another. So many are so interested in trying to capture both sides of a transaction that they disclose that they're a transactional agent to begin with, and then don't realize that obligates them to do things for the buyer, even though they were really a single agent until this buyer walked into an open house unrepresented. And it just creates confusion. So, and then the second thing is just general greed, is doing things that are better for them than their clients.
Okay.
For sure. Since we're talking about this, let me just, before we get into some more, let me just do some shout outs real quick to all our Facebook and YouTube people. Elaine, thank you so much for coming in. It comes in every week. Thank you so much. Elizabeth, Betty, thank you so much for coming out, watching the show again today. Francis, you too. Mom, I love you and hope everything's going well. Okay, so
hey Jim, can I give 2 quick shout outs?
Sure, of course.
2 good ones. You know one of them. So we talked to Joe the last actually Johnny talked to him too last couple of weeks, who listens to us from the Great White North, right up Canada, Minnesota way, and he's a regular listener.
That's right.
And I was talking to him. I said, how what are you doing? Where are you listening to us on Facebook? And he said, I'm not sure, but I think I must have connected at some point through a Fort Lauderdale, Facebook group or something. So that was pretty cool. You got somebody who's not local, didn't listen to the radio station, but is a regular listener. And then one other one I thought was interesting. I have, we did a little corporate thing on Wednesday this week, or no, it was a Thursday this week. And one of the loan originators out of our Delray branch, Jim, there's a guy, Mike, who's the branch manager, Mike Doyle. You know him.
I didn't know he was the branch manager over there. Yeah, I didn't know Mike was the branch manager over there.
He had one of his LOs was at the thing, and he came up and he's like, Mike, I listen to you guys all the time. And so I'll shout out to Tom out of our Delray branch. Maybe he's listening again. So Good
Nice.
morning to you, Tom. It was good to see you this past week. Okay, that's it.
Shout-outs.
Yep. It's pretty amazing how this show is kind of like leaking, spreading out everywhere, like oozing out everywhere slowly, because I still feel like we're the best kept secret about consumer news in the Florida real estate market. So
There's no doubt.
know.
There's no doubt. It's loaded with information. Loaded.
Yeah. So let people know about us, guys. It's growing more and more, though, all the time. It's awesome. And I haven't done the check. I'm going to do this. I'm going to go back to our Facebook page and our Google page and find out what continents people are watching our show from, because you could do that. And I haven't done it in a while. But in the past, it's been pretty amazing. China, Saudi Arabia, like places you would never expect in a million years. At least I wouldn't expect in a million years. One time or a couple of people in Croatia were watching us for a while.
Nice.
It's just really kind of interesting to see we're all over the world. Spain. So we're 24/7 anywhere in the world with the iHeartRadio app or Facebook or YouTube at Florida Talk Real Estate.
Hey, and FloridaTalkRealEstate.com too. It's your one-stop real estate shop, FloridaTalkRealEstate.com.
Let's just go into the transaction broker, single agent broker situation, Paul, just real quickly, because that is a very common thing. When you have low inventory, the National Association of Realtors Association and the Florida Realtors Association are really cracking down very hard about agents that don't want to put properties on the MLS because they are sold so quickly that they know that they can hold back from putting it on the market and maybe finding their own buyer. And the reason why an agent would do that is because they were going to try to, as Paul said, get double-sided commissions. So they would get the buyer's side commission and the seller's or listing agent side of the commission at the same time. When I do my presentations, when I sit down, one of the things I talk about is that we act as transaction brokers and actually explain the difference between a transaction broker and what's called a single agent. Paul, could you, without getting too wonky, from a layman's point of view, what does a real estate agent have to know about the difference between hiring an agent as a transaction broker, which is traditional in Florida, versus hiring somebody as a single agent?
Well, I'm not sure that transactional broker is the set use for listing agreements. I know that many people do set it that way, but I think probably nationwide the single agent is the most common, and I think that's what people expect when you sit down with them with a listing agreement, and you're telling them that I'm going to be your broker. I'm setting the price based on your market analysis. Here's where I'm sharing what I'm sharing with you, which I deem to be proprietary and confidential, and I'm giving this to you. And then I think they would be equally as disappointed to know that you're sharing the same information with the buyer. So if you are going to do that, you have to announce yourself as a transactional broker from the start. And you have to say, look, I'm going to have confidential conversations with both sides and share any information I have. So if there's something you don't want me to share, you need to be very clear that I cannot share that with the other side. And that's the basic premise of it, is that you're representing both sides. I think it's very difficult to do it well, and it creates a ton of conflict and a ton of issues. Let's get by the settling on a price. I just don't understand how you can do it very effectively during the inspection period. There's a number of issues that come up in any inspection, even the best inspections. And, I'm not sure how you best represent the buyer to push for a credit and then go to the seller and best represent the seller to push back and say, no, I'm not giving you any credits. I could sell it to somebody else for more money. Well, didn't you just tell the seller a few minutes ago, this is the best you're going to do in the marketplace, and you should take this buyer's offer, and now you're going to come back and tell this buyer that you could do better in the marketplace with somebody else. Those are the kind of distinctions and disconnects that transactional agents have to deal with on a regular basis.
Yes, with our team, Antares International at Keller Williams Realty, we probably only about 5% do we do double sides, Paul, which is very, very low compared to big teams. But the reason why is that we feel that there's an ethical consideration about trying to hold back for the double side. Is that one of the risks that sellers have is that if an agent comes too quickly with the double side and it hasn't been fully vetted to be fully marketed out in the public market, especially in today's market, you might be leaving a lot of money on the table.
Sure.
So let's say you put a property on the market, I'm making it up for $500,000. And then let's say that your agent, while you're trying to stage the property, calls you up and says, hey, I got somebody that's willing to give you $515 right now, right? Don't have to do anything. Don't have to show it. Just go into contract at $515, and the seller says sold, right? But what they don't know is if they had actually fully marketed the property and put it on the MLS and did all the marketing that you would normally do for a property, in today's market, they might get $535, $550 on the open market, and there's no way to know that. And I always feel that the sellers need to know the risk about not putting it on the open market. We had a case recently, Paul, where Scott Spainhauer, one of the top agents on my team, we had an offer. I was the listing agent. We had, I think, 13 offers, and Scott had 2 of the 13 offers that were presented to me. One of the offers was rejected pretty much outright because it was too low. But the second offer that he presented was tied for first. And we had to go back and forth a couple of times. And then the seller decided that they were going to go with the other offer because it was cash.
Yep.
And we were okay with that because we know that the seller had all the offers. We really wanted our buyer to get the deal, to be honest with you, but the seller chose not to. And we were okay with that. We took the listing side. The agent that brought the other buyer that she felt was better qualified got the buyer side, and everything was okay. The other thing we do, Paul, is that usually if we're doing 2 sides of a transaction, what I try to do is if I'm the listing agent and I have a buyer that's interested in the property, I give it to one of my agents so my agents can work with them directly. So I don't know all the insider information that they know, right?
Sure.
So if the buyer wants to confide to Scott or Natalie or somebody else on our team that, hey, I'll offer 500, but I'm willing to go to 515. Let's turn in 500 and see if they take it. I don't have to know that stuff as the listing agent. Scott presents his offer, and then my seller counters back. Do you think that's a little safer way to do it or not really? Because we're still all on the same team now.
Yeah, I mean, it is safer. Does a seller or a buyer not believe that you're creating, I think they used to call it a Chinese wall. I don't know if that's politically correct or not these days, but
Doesn't sound like it.
It's a great wall.
Yeah, the Great Wall. But an image-based wall between the 2 parties so that there's some distance. I just don't know that buyers and sellers think that's true, or they just think that you guys are sitting in one big room and talking to each other all day anyway.
Yeah,
and that's the perception or risk of perception that you deal with. The reality is you're doing the best you can, and as long as you're being listing focused when you are representing a seller, I think you do the best job possible. There's always another property, maybe not these days, but there used to always be another property for a buyer to look at, and losing out on a couple actually makes them more focused and hungrier to put their best offer forward on the next one.
Absolutely. And, talking about this, in today's market, you remember last week, Johnny, we were talking about weak agents and how agents can cost you thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
We're talking about, I'm kind of segueing here, Paul, about negotiations in general, right? And trying to do the right thing for the seller or your customer. I just had a case in West Palm where we had a 97-year-old house. I think we've talked about it a couple of times on the air because of insurance issues and things like that, because the house was so old. I was selling it in West Palm. We put it on the market for 300. It sat there for about 10 days, 12 days, didn't get much action. I knew I was kind of pushing the limits. So we right away after the 10th day or the 11th day of our 21-day marketing plan, we dropped it to 285. Within 3 days, we had 4 offers. We took a 285, right? So now we're looking pretty good. By the way, the owner said that all she wanted was 250. I was the one that was pushing the market for her to see if we could get more money because she is a retiree and a widow, and this is the last big thing she's going to sell in her life. So this is her last big paycheck, and she's on fixed income. So I said, let me try to push limits, try to grab you more money. We got the 285. It was an investor that made me feel a little bit more comfortable because there was no appraisal. They said all they cared about was the cast iron pipes. If the cast iron sewage pipes were okay, they were buying the house. They scoped it, cost them a little bit of money to do that, and found out that the pipes were okay. So we thought we were golden. But when they came back for the inspection, they went from 285 to 235 and wanted a $50,000 drop on the house price.
Whew.
Right. So the owner was going to take it. She was feeling kind of beat up. She didn't like the way the inspection report looked because it was kind of messy. She lives out of state. The house is vacant. She had a break-in while we were showing the houses. Thank God nobody damaged the house, but there was a break-in and it was vacant. So she goes, I'm just going to take it. And I was like, Angie, please, please don't take this offer. Give me a chance to get you more money. So she trusted me. We put it back at 285. 3 days later, we got 285. During the inspection, it fell apart again. We put it back, but it appraised on that one. We know the house appraised at 285, right? So that was a good thing. But the deal fell apart. So we put it back on the market. They didn't even want the house. They didn't even counter. They just, during the inspection period, they walked. So then we went into our third buyer. We just got the appraisal and all the work, everything, the clear to close and everything yesterday.
Nice.
And we got it at 275. Well, actually, we took 276. The house appraised at 275. So we had to drop it $1,000 because the buyer, listen to this, guys, 86-year-old retired veteran. Is that cool or what?
God bless.
So it was a perfect match for the couple because the lady selling it was really happy that guy was buying it. The guy is working with us for the termite problems and is working on that for us. So he's paying for the termite tenting for the house out of his pocket, and then the owner's going to pay back at closing because she's tight on money. So it was just a perfect match for everybody. And she got 275 instead of 285, but it's what she told me was way better than 235. Right?
Uh-huh.
So in her mind, she felt like I've made her $40,000 of what she was going to cave in on. Sure. And that's the difference between hiring a professional team who does this every day, goes through bumps and bruises, but knows how to salvage things, versus agents. If they're doing 5, 10 transactions a year, they're probably not going to know how to handle all that. And when you have a seller saying sell, 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 it's hard to go back to them and say to them, give me another chance to do better for you. You know what I mean? Because
sure.
It's just easier to say, okay, you want to take the 235, let's go do that, right? Yeah. So anyway, I know I rambled on a little bit about that, but that's I just wanted to bring that up. We have Pat, who Paul is one of my favorite customers from a couple years back, and he had a legal question. So.
Good.
Yeah.
Let's get him on. He's joining us at 877-927-6969. Toll free. Jimothy lined him up, and boom. Pat's joining us on this Saturday, Florida Talk Real Estate. Good morning to you, Pat. How are you?
Good morning, team. So my legal question is, I think it's a little more complicated, but my mother-in-law owns a couple properties. Both properties. One is she put in her name and my wife's name. The second property she put in her name and her son's name.
Okay.
He lives in his property. We don't live in the other property. His property, she made a deal with him that he just had to pay all the utilities and taxes, and she would let him live in it. He hasn't done such. She's paid the taxes and the utilities for 3 years now, and she's decided to just get rid of the property.
Mm-hmm.
She owns the properties outright, and he wants half of what she's selling the property for. And she's told him she'll give him half of the profits from what she paid for it. And he's insisting on he wants half of whatever it sells for. It's half his. And I don't know if she has a legal leg to stand on to not owe him half of the selling price of the property or not. And that's my question to you, Paul.
That's an interesting one. Paul?
Yeah. So it's a tough call. We advise people all the time, if they're trying to set things up so that when they pass away, the asset goes to one child or another, don't put their name on the deed like she did. And this is the perfect example why. You never want some child to be able to hold you up and doing whatever you want to do on a property that you paid for and should control yourself.
Mm-hmm.
The alternative to doing what she did is to create a trust or a life estate deed where she keeps the life estate, she controls the trust, and then upon her passing, she then transfers it to him as successor trustee and beneficiary, or upon her passing in a life estate, it automatically goes to him. That gives her control to be able to transfer it out at any time that she wants for no interest. So what she has to do is file what's called a partition action. And it basically says, I'm severing the survivorship language in my deed. I'm telling the court that I want to sell this asset and get away from this other party. I'm proving to the court that I've paid certain expenses towards the property,
Mm-hmm.
and that I want that money out first. And then I'm willing to split any quote unquote profit 50-50, which is, I think, exactly what she should do.
Make sense there, Pat?
Okay.
Yeah.
This is called a partition deed. Is that something that she should contact a real estate attorney to help her with?
Well, she wants to contact a real estate litigator because it's not a deed, it's a lawsuit that you have to file.
Paul, do you have a litigator on staff?
Yeah, we do. We filed a bunch of these in the past. It's it's a challenge because everybody has their own perspective and everybody wants to tell the judge what they want to tell the judge.
Mm-hmm.
But I think under the circumstances that you're telling me, that she paid everything up front, that she's carried the property while he's lived there rent-free, I don't think a judge would be very sympathetic to anything that the kid has to say.
Huh. So, Pat, we can put you in connection easily with the law office of Paul A. Krasker and see what they can do to assist you here. He said it's a little bit of a daunting task, but it sounds like as long as mom's sharing all the right information for you there, it sounds like you probably got a good standing.
Yeah, I can't believe my question is, did I miss something here that he's not on the title, right? Oh no, he is on the title. He's on title. I forgot that. That answers all my questions. I forgot.
That's the killer. Everybody wants to avoid probate. The joke of it is that probate, if this was the only asset, would be $4,000, and instead she's going to have to pay $5,000 plus for a partition action just to get rid of them.
Yeah.
And
Paul,
the kid's making a horrible mistake, because if I were mom and my kid said no to me after I just gave him something and he hadn't earned any part of it, I would cut him out of everything else, Yeah. So he'll lose more than just his 50% stake in this property.
So Pat, we have all your Mike. I'll answer. You could ask the question, but first, Pat, we have all your information already. So we're gonna have Johnny reach out, give you Paul Krasker's number, so that way you can give the office a call on Monday and see what's going on. Mike, were you gonna say something, or was it Johnny? I'm sorry.
No, I had a couple things. So Paul, one question: if they didn't do the partition action and they both agreed to sell the property, is there any way of partitioning the proceeds other than 50-50? Like, is that kind of like the default? A settlement company would basically say, "Hey, where's the money going?" And they're both like, "I want my half. I want my half."
Yeah, the problem is that the kid never signs the deed if he doesn't get
His half.
his half.
Mm-hmm.
So you get all the way up to closing. Now you've breached a contract with a buyer. They have potential damages against you. It gets worse and worse. You're better off filing the partition action, going to mediation, having some mediator who's a third party turn back to this kid and whack him upside the head and say, "Are you out of your mind asking for anything more than 50% of the profits? You're going to lose in court. That's what the law is. What are you doing?" And
I hear kid, but I think it's probably an adult.
yeah, it's probably a 40-year-old guy, whatever it is. Sure, but certainly not acting like one. Yeah.
Yeah. My second question was, well, shoot, now I'm forgetting what it was. Oh, I just wanted to point out, and you said it, but this is a perfect example where estate planning is so critical, because these are the questions you ask your estate planning attorney and say, "Hey, listen, this is what I want to happen." And guess what? You can do all that without the consultation of your kids, especially if there's contentious issues, right? Like, you're doing that, it's you and your lawyer, or you and your spouse and your lawyer, and you're able to make all of these things and they'll stick, right? Like, what you want is what's going to happen, and you could change it down the line if you want to.
Oh, and you can build in different criteria too. If this happens, this is what happens. If this and this happens, this is what happens. I know with us, we have moving parts. If I die, if me and the wife die, if all three of us die, like, there's all these different scenarios. And these were things I didn't even think about until we were sitting at the table doing the planning.
Sure. It's interesting. And most of the time, as mom gets older, it's the kids pushing mom to put a plan in place. And then mom comes to me and says, "I want 2 quitclaim deeds." And I say, "Before you tell me what you want, tell me what your intention is. Tell me how you want this to play out. Let me try to give you options that meet that criteria, but allow you to retain control over the assets during your lifetime."
Right.
And that's the key, is retaining that control.
What's your goal? And I'll help you get there. That's right. Go ahead, Pat.
I have one more comment. It kind of it puts me in not me, but my wife, because I've kind of stayed out of it in a weird position where the property that she did the same thing for us, my wife and I, that she put in my wife's name and her name. Now, is she going to second guess and take that out of my wife's name because of what happened between her brothers? So I'm like, do I help, or do I just stay out of it? I tell her, "Hey, contact these people. You can get what you want." So now I get this moral dilemma.
Do we have a marriage counselor in the One Stop real estate shop?
I don't know, Paul. Do you deal with divorces? I don't know if you deal with divorces.
Yeah, but in all of these cases, I tell people the same thing. Take the moral high road. You'll never feel bad about it.
That's right.
If you turn back to mom and at the end of the day she feels the same about your wife that she does about her son, then say, "I'm happy to switch the deed into a life estate deed and giving it to my wife when she passes. If that's a concern for you, we're not living there rent free. You're renting it out to a third party and you're keeping 100% of the rent, which is what we want for you. We're trying to have you avoid probate, but if that's a concern, then put it back in your name entirely, and we'll deal with it after you pass. I don't want you to have any stress or anything." And you'd be surprised how many times a mom just turns back to you and says, "I'm not worried about you.
I'm not even worried about you." Yeah. That's right. It's this one I'm worried about.
Yeah. That's so true.
I mean, there may be even, I can see a scenario like they do that. They take the moral high road, and then the other sibling comes in and somehow gets him involved in the deed on that other property, right? So that then you're kind of opening the door to but we're kind of that takes it down a path that maybe is a little bit too far, too extreme. So
yeah.
Estate planning, I guess, is the moral of the story there, Pat. You just, if anything, it's not too late, right? I mean, she still has probably portions of her estate she needs to determine, what's going to happen. So that would be my recommendation.
Sure.
We should probably take a break right now. On the flip side, we're going to get right into missed mortgage payments and knowing your rights with Paul Krasker from the law office of Paul A. Krasker. He's been dealing with people and helping people, thousands and thousands of people over the years, with his real estate expertise and negotiating with banks to get the best deals he can for homeowners who have missed mortgage payments. This is going to be a great segment coming up next. We're going to have tons of answers for your questions. And we're going to answer questions you didn't even know that you should ask questions about. So it's going to be an awesome segment. So right after the break.
If you do have some questions, you have ample opportunity right now to fill up one of our phone lines at 877-927-6969. Very short break. We'll come back. We'll get right to your phone calls and your questions. And obviously, Paul's going to give us a ton of information, as Jimmy D noted. Valuable information. Thanks so much for being with us on a Saturday. Remember, Florida Talk Real Estate is a .com. It's your one-stop real estate shop. Your access to the entire team. Pros. They're experts in their field. You get them all at FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. We're back 4 minutes from now. Great to have you with us every Saturday. Florida Talk Real Estate right here on Real Radio.
What's your favorite show at RealRadio921.com.
This is Chris Collinsworth. Here's what's trending on the iHeart Sports Network, presented by DraftKings.
The Dolphins start their training camp on July 27th, but are already making roster moves as they sign 2017 draft pick Isaiah Ford to a new deal.
Who said he's playing tomorrow morning?
Brian Cole. In a doubleheader to start off the second half, the Marlins were only able to take a 7-2 against the Bills. The Olympic organizers announced there's been a positive COVID test for a resident in the Olympic Village. I'm Adam Crowley.
Download the DraftKings app and use code SPORTS to get a free shot at millions of dollars up for grabs this week with your first deposit.
Minimum $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
Hey, it's your boy Johnny C here, host of Florida Talk Real Estate. They're tops when it comes to helping people buy and sell houses. But Florida Talk Real Estate is so much more than that. For 5 years, I've watched these guys help thousands of our listeners with any real estate need. They couldn't do it without their sponsors, who are experts in their fields. Check it out. Jim DePola, powered by Keller Williams Realty. Their team specializes in helping people sell their house for top dollar, and buyers get great deals on the purchase of their home. That's what they did for me and my family, and I couldn't be happier that I hired them for my real estate transaction. Mike Rao from the mortgage firm is one of our favorite guests on the show, and he is the mortgage guy. Whether you're looking for a refi or a mortgage to purchase a new home, Mike Rao will get you the answers you need. The mortgage firm is licensed to do loans in Florida, Alabama, Tennessee, and Georgia, and they have local offices that cover all of South Florida. So if you're thinking about a refi or a new mortgage, go to the mortgage guy, Mike Rao, and find out what he can do for you. The Mortgage Firm, Inc., NMLS 189233, Florida license MLD 78, equal housing lender. The law office of Paul A. Krasker has been specializing in real estate law for nearly 25 years and has the professional team you need. Upside down with your house, Paul's team can help you conduct short sales, loan modifications, even if you're behind on payments. They also help you with foreclosure defense and bankruptcy. They can even help you get a student loan modification and repair your credit to get the score you need. Paul's full-service team has helped thousands of our listeners, and they can help you too. Trident Title LLC is the largest privately owned title company in Florida. When you need a title company to complete a refi, home purchase, or sale, Trident Title has got you covered. Not only do they offer competitive pricing, Trident Title has attorneys on staff to make sure if you have bumps in the road declaring title that you can get the job done. Beware, not all title companies in Florida have attorneys on staff. Trident Title does and complies with all the new federal regulations released last year. Ross Camaronets, owner of Brightway Insurance, has been helping our listeners get great rates on homeowners insurance plans. Haven't checked your homeowner's insurance policy in a while? This is a great way to help reduce your monthly mortgage payment. Ross can also help with renters and auto insurance. Ross is only a phone call away and can usually get the answers you need same day.
Call Ross today at 561-425-6228 or drop by his office at 873 Donald Ross Road in Juno Beach.
So now you know why I'm happy to be part of the Florida Talk Real Estate Show, the longest running real estate show in Florida. And all these sponsors are just a phone call or a click away. Just call 888-973-7828. That's 888-973-7828. Or go to floridatalkrealestate.com. That's floridatalkrealestate.com. And don't forget to use the most accurate search engine to find your new home or ask for a free home valuation because floridatalkrealestate.com has you covered. That's floridatalkrealestate.com.
This is Real Radio 92.1 and 101.7. Real talk for the Palm Beaches and the Treasure Coast. This is Florida Talk Real Estate with Jim DePola and Johnny C. Got a question for the show? Call us live at 1-877-927-6969.
That's your toll-free number, 877-927-6969. You can jump in with your questions, comments, concerns. If we start hitting a hot button for you, don't be shy. Jimothy will line you up, and we will absolutely get you on the air, hopefully get the answers that you need. If not, we will get back in touch with you with the answers that you need. But we got the team assembled to handle so much. And I'm your boy, Johnny C. Let's go ahead and get you the introduction of your team that's put together here on this Saturday. Florida Talk Real Estate is .com, and you can have access to this entire team. And that includes Mike Rao, the mortgage guy from the mortgage firm. I point, if you're watching on Facebook, I don't know why. I just do. I point at the screen at Mike Rao when I say it. But there he is. It's Mike Rao. Hi.
My guy, pointing right at you back, Johnny. Kind of.
Sort of. Kind of.
There we go. This guy over here.
There he is. That's
good morning, everybody. Hello.
Hey.
Beautiful Saturday morning. I'm not sure if it's going to rain. Probably is, I guess.
Well, I guess we kind of hope so a little bit, you know? Wouldn't it be great if it would just rain from like 1 a.m. to like 4 a.m. every night? Just good rain every night. We can just make that happen. Paul, you're pretty juiced in. Can we make that happen? Even like 4 days a week?
I used to have this thing, Johnny, where I love to go over and play links golf in Ireland and Scotland. And I'd watch the weather for weeks before I got there, and it was pouring every day, all day. And the day that I would arrive in the country, the sun would come out and no rain for a week while I played there. And it happened like 3 years in a row. And I really thought that people started inviting me on their trips just because they figured it was me.
You were the Midas touch, yeah.
And that fourth year, there was a lot of rain.
Well, everything has a good run, right? There's a shelf life for everything, Paul.
So
I'll tell you the one time. I was going to say, Jim, the one time we took a trip, we went to London. Mm-hmm. And it was it was the beginning of July. I think we arrived on July 4th. So it was that week, and it was the most beautiful week. I mean, they had all their flowers out on the streets, and it was sunny every day, and it was probably 70 to 75 degrees, and it would cool off at night. And probably I don't even remember it raining once. Maybe one time, maybe one day it rained. So maybe that's the time. Maybe it's like 1 week a year where you get that weather over there.
That's it. You gotta get super lucky.
When I was married to my first wife, you know, you're getting old when you have to say that, right? Her nickname was Marilyn from the Munsters, because every place she went and everything, it always rained. Like if it was a sunny day out, it always rained when she was around and everything. She's a really great person. It makes it sound like she's bad, but she wasn't. But anyway, everybody joked around that she was Marilyn. So when we used to go on vacations, and this happened like 5 times, the weirdest things would happen to us. Like one of our vacations, we went down to Key West, and then there was a hurricane named Andrew that hit that weekend. Right. One time we flew out to a wedding in Pittsburgh, and we had a really great time and everything. And we had a really great trip, and nothing went wrong at all. And we were like, wow, this is such a weird trip. Like no national disasters, no crimes, no anything. And then as when we got back into town, the bride sent us a message saying, "I can't. Are you guys okay? Because your hotel burnt down to the ground today." And we had left like 3 hours earlier, and it was burnt to the ground. I mean, it was gone, right?
Gosh.
And there were all these trips. So we used to joke that we wanted to call the federal government and told them that we were going on vacation, and if they would pay us to stay home, lots of money, maybe you won't have that hurricane, or maybe the hotel will still be standing. So just give me money, we'll stay home.
More like a threat. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Call up FEMA. It's like, hey, we're going to go vacation. How much are you going to pay me not to?
I love it. Well, we did get a little sidetracked. There we go from Mike Rao. Let me make sure you know the voices you're hearing. We got Paul Krasker from the law offices of Paul A. Krasker. If you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, upper right hand corner. Paul, hello. Great to have you with us. Fantastic as always. Thank you. And Jimmy D's with us too, y'all. It's Jim DePolo with Keller Williams Preferred Partners. Actually, it's Keller Williams Reserve Palm Beach. Let me get that right.
Yes,
and he does run a top producing Keller Williams team. Hello there, Jimmy D.
Thank you. Sorry, I jumped in on everybody.
Wait, can you clarify that? What is it? Keller Williams, they changed the name of your office?
Yeah, so it's not Preferred Partners anymore. It's Reserve Palm Beach.
Keller Williams Reserve Palm Beach. Okay.
It sounds like a wine to me or something. I don't know.
Yeah, or anything. It could, could be whiskey.
Yeah, I guess it could be a whiskey or something.
In a bourbon cask.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's about continuity, and branding. Right?
Yeah. Well, we know that. How many different names and phone numbers and emails and everything. It drives Johnny crazy.
It truly does. But this one's been consistent. 877-927-6969. You're welcome to join us on air with your questions, comments, concerns. If you're not comfortable on air, always remember FloridaTalkRealEstate.com is your access to the entire team. You can reach out on Facebook as well, but at FloridaTalkRealEstate.com, you'll see the hotline. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That is answered by a live body. 888-973-7828. You'll find it at FloridaTalkRealEstate.com.
So let's go get into mortgage forbearance, the CARES Act, and all of that, and find out what's going on. And the reason why I'm bringing this up now is that a lot of these programs had a time limit. It wasn't supposed to go on forever and ever. So it looked like to me, and we're going to talk to Paul about this in more detail, is that most of these programs are supposed to last 12 to 15 months. And if the program started last March 2020, there's a lot of people that are already getting notices right now saying it's time to start making your mortgage payment again. That's why I'm so happy to have Paul here, because there's a lot of people out there that really don't know what the next step is and what's going to happen in this situation. So Paul, is and I'm basing that 12 to 15 months on a white paper I read about 3 months ago, and I was really surprised that they had all these rules and guidelines that the public wasn't really getting in the regular newspapers and like reading it that way. So am I wrong that there is a time limit? Like you can't just be on there for 3 years, right? Let's say you burned up your 12 to 15 months, but the CARES Act is still in effect for other people. Does that mean your program ends, or that can continue to be extended?
So I think the federal government has given their indication that as of July 31st, a couple weeks from now, these programs are going to end. There's some talk of being able to allow people to apply for the forbearance through September 30th if they've been affected. And there have been a bunch of white papers, guidance letters, etc., that have been put out that basically says we're not going to allow everybody to just file foreclosures immediately on August 1st, that there's going to be a process in place that needs to go forward. My guess is that there will be a lot of foreclosures for people who were in default prior to COVID and just got dumb luck that they got to extend and stay in their house for another 18 months without paying their taxes and insurance and mortgage payments. And now they're going to be facing a foreclosure action sure, on August 1.
Well, those people, will there be more like a light switch, do you think, Paul, though? Those that were in default prior to COVID, will that be more of a light switch to get into foreclosure when it's green lit?
For sure.
Yeah.
So it's time to pay the piper for very soon for people in that situation.
Yeah, I mean, there's a guy in my neighborhood who was in foreclosure for 4 years beforehand. There was a sale scheduled of his house in March of 2020, and he's got a renter in there, and he's been renting the property to somebody, and he got another, what is that, 15 months more rent from this person.
Oh.
Meanwhile, the house continues to go into disarray, not paying the homeowners association fees, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah, I mean, they've already rescheduled a sale for him for August, whatever it is, 6th or 7th, and he's done.
They've already rescheduled it, Johnny.
Yeah,
Sure.
I want to say, Jack, hang in there a second. I know you're on hold there. We're going to get to your phone call at 877-927-6969. He has a forbearance question. But does it make sense? And do you see this kind of coming together, Paul, where, so, you know, for pretty much everybody that's been involved, there hasn't been a requirement to prove any hardship, at least as far as I know. Can you see us sliding into maybe extending some folks that have legit hardships where they can prove that, man, I need this? And then kind of, you know, pan through those that are just, well, let me just get in because I can.
Yeah, so I think that there is going to be more of an analysis done on individuals before you could just pick up the phone and say, hey, I've been harmed by COVID and I need to stop making my mortgage. And the banks, whether they got some sort of tax credit from the federal government or not, I don't know, all said, yeah, no problem. Come back to us when you're ready to go.
Do you think it'll be done like on an overlay, though, where they all have the same guidelines? Or do you think it's going to be entity to entity, bank to bank?
Well, I think that, what is it, the HUD, VA, and USDA will all have their own guidelines, and Fannie and Freddie will have their guidelines. Hopefully they're the same, but sometimes they have differences. And yeah, I think it'll be every loan that's under one of those programs will be consistent. And then if it's just a private bank loan with no backing, it's a portfolio loan or something of the sort, then it'll be based on that investor's guidelines.
And those loans were never covered by the CARES Act in the first place,
anyway, right?
CARES Act only applied to loans that were securitized by the government entities, including Fannie and Freddie. So, which is, you know, most of the residential loans that are out there.
Sure.
But and the CARES Act never followed those. But the policies, I think, Paul, is coming from FHFA, so the Federal Housing Finance Authority, and they're kind of that's the main umbrella over all of those, you know, Fannie, Freddie, FHA, VA, USDA. And I think what they're saying is you need to make a concerted effort to determine if this homeowner has any chance of working something out to avoid foreclosure. And I think the policy says you guys need to do that. So that's what you were just describing. Like, before you guys start your foreclosure action, you need to take these steps. Now, it's all policy, right? None of this is law like the CARES Act was. And my question is, Paul, so...
Well, wait. Let's get to the caller. Okay, we got a caller on hold, right?
Write your question down real quick, Mike.
Yeah, so write your question down. I'm sorry, we have a caller.
Got it.
Yeah, let's say hi to Jack here, who's patiently waiting. Thanks for your patience, Jack, and welcome. You're on Florida Talk Real Estate. How are you, Jack?
Great. Considering.
Yeah.
I've been in. I got into forbearance last year, which I didn't want to get into. I was trying actually to refi right before all this happened, and my mortgage company kind of screwed everything up, which I wasn't real happy with. They had me paying down 0% credit cards and everything else, then repull my credit. So I was just very borderline. So my debt to income, because it was a slowdown due to COVID, got my revolving number. That being said, I've been concerned now because I've been in and out of work coming out of this, I'm coming up to the end. I don't know. Are they going to hit me? I mean, there's like, I can't get a defined answer even from them. Am I going to have to, double my mortgage payment now all of a sudden, or lose my house going to foreclosure, because that's something I won't be able to afford. So, and I think I got on the call, right? I think when Paul was talking, I don't know if he mentioned this, but that's what my concern is. There's no like real black and white of how they're coming out of this to anybody. Because I know in 07, 08, people were at 90 days, and all of a sudden you had to come up with all the money you owed. I think that was out in California, what I was reading.
Mm-hmm. So Jack, is your mortgage backed by Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac? Do you know?
I believe I think it's a Freddie Mac.
Okay.
I understand that they had some little better language in the CARES Act on that, but again, I don't know exactly.
Most people think, and most guidance letters to date have said that if you have the ability to just resume your normal mortgage payment, that's all they'll ask you to do, and that they're going to voluntarily throw the 12 months or 15 months of missed payments onto the back end of the loan. So if your loan was supposed to end in 2035, it'll now end in 2036.
What are they doing with escrow?
And it's the question that Johnny C just raised of how they're going to handle that. If you didn't pay your real estate taxes and your property insurance, and the bank had to come out of pocket on those numbers, most people think that those payments are going to get spread out over a year to get you back whole. So it's going to be a mortgage payment, and at worst, 1/12 of your or 2/12 of your escrow obligation, because 1/12 more. So you'll make your regular mortgage payment with the principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, and then you'll have to pay another taxes and insurance for a year to catch up.
That seems doable for a lot of folks, unless they are absolutely like stretched to their limit.
Well, I've seen it. Yeah, on that particular point, I've seen it a couple times now, where everything, including the missed escrows, is moved to the back of the loan and not necessarily extended for the 12 or 15 months that you missed, but pushed off as a balloon at the end of the term. An interest-free, 0% interest balloon at the end of the term. So if you can, and there's going to be a variety, again, this is not law, right? This is policy, and each lender is kind of determining how to handle the missed payments. But you should be able to get something concrete from them, number one, as an offer, like what they're offering you. And the best case scenario is what Paul said, where everything you miss gets moved to the end. And if they extend it by the 12 or 15 months, that's like, to me, that's best case scenario. Second best would be some sort of balloon, where they move everything. After that would be, we'll move your missed principal and interest, but then your escrows we got to deal with over the next X amount of months, 12 months, 24 months, whatever it is. And then, of course, pay everything up front as you come out is going to be the tough one.
Right.
In my experience, if you're talking to your servicer, like, you have to make it an effort, right?
Communicate.
You have to call them, and you have to say, hey guys, coming out of my forbearance, what am I going to do? I want to keep my house. What are you guys doing? What are you going to offer me? And they should be presenting you offers.
Let me ask, do you guys think this is going to be a scenario where you'll actually be able to negotiate? Or is it like black and white? Like, here it is, take it or leave it. I mean, we're either going to foreclose on you or you do this. Right. Or do you think is there wiggle room where you can negotiate a little bit if you're savvy enough?
Paul?
So I personally believe that you're going to be able to push on the banks a little bit and say, no, the guidance letter says that you have to consider all mortgage alternatives before you start a foreclosure action, and I don't think you've done that. all you've told me is you want me to do X. That's not considering all alternatives. And, that's where people try it themselves. And when they get that kind of a language, they come to a firm like mine, and we call the bank and insist on it.
We're gonna take a break right now, guys, in just a second. Paul, we're gonna continue with that about knowing your rights, because that's one of the things I really want to focus on, is about the wiggle room for negotiation. And you just don't have to do what the bank says. We're going to talk about that. Just to wrap up this segment, though, and thank you, Jack. If you want to stay on hold for the second segment, that's great. If not, we'll talk you off air. I just wanted to give a shout out to Debbie. She just sent it's one of our customers. We're trying to help her get a house right now. And she wrote, Mike is the best, Mike Rao. He made seemingly impossible possible. A great thank you. Also, Jim, thank you for keeping in touch. I'm still working on finding a house with Scott Spainhauer. Thank you. And last but not least, Johnny C. Sorry I missed your call the past Thursday. I wanted to call you back, but I couldn't, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, Debbie is trying to find a house right now with Scott. I know they've turned in multiple offers right now, have not got it, but we know the dream home's coming. Mike, you want to say something?
Yeah, I mean, Debbie they've been really fighting the good fight, trying to get into contract. And we're one of those where you're very competitive. They want a great house. And when you see a great house, other people want that same great house. And we were really close, I think, on a couple, but it's gonna work out. They're gonna end up with the home that's perfect for them. I know, I believe that, and we just got to keep at it. And Debbie's been a trooper, so a hard road, but just she's not the only one, right, Jim? I mean, there's buyers out there that are just going through the same thing, Debbie. So don't feel alone. We're here with you. And we're going to get it done.
And I can tell you this, out of the last 10 buyers that we've closed in the last 2 months, we've kept in touch with most of them. And I got to tell you right now, not one single of those buyers has said, gosh, I wish I didn't buy the house I bought. They absolutely loved it. And many of them had to turn in, unfortunately, two to five offers before they got the house that was accepted. And I have never heard one of them say, oh, I wish I bought the house I didn't get. They're all so happy with what they bought. So, Debbie, that's coming for you too. So we're going to take a quick break. We're going to go continue to talk about knowing your rights, about missed mortgage payments and how to negotiate with the banks, with no better person than the law office of Paul Krasker here.
Best of the best. That's what you get with FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. It's a team of pros. They're experts in their field, and you're lucky enough to have access to them all at FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. A team. How many times can you say, man, I got a team working for me? Well, you can if you go to FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. We're back 4 minutes from now. Lots of great information coming your way. Thanks for being with us. Florida Talk Real Estate right here on Real Radio.
We're still your at work station, even if your work happens to be on the kitchen table. Bed. Tell your smart device to play Real Radio 92.1 on iHeartRadio.
This report is streamed live on our iHeartRadio app. Download it now.
Good Saturday morning to everybody. I'm CBS 12 Storm Track meteorologist Zach Covey. We're in for another hot afternoon with temperatures rapidly warming up from the lower 80s this morning to the upper 80s, even near 90 degrees in some parts of the county this afternoon. Scattered showers and storms, not a washout, but still scattered in nature.
This report is sponsored by Audible. Make it a summer to remember with Audible. It delivers everything you love listening to all in one app. Stream the newest hot releases, bestsellers, Audible originals, popular podcasts, and more. Start listening free with a 30-day trial at audible.com.
Hey, it's your boy Johnny C here, host of Florida Talk Real Estate. They're tops when it comes to helping people buy and sell houses. But Florida Talk Real Estate is so much more than that. For 5 years, I've watched these guys help thousands of our listeners with any real estate need. They couldn't do it without their sponsors, who are experts in their fields. Check it out. Jim DePola, powered by Keller Williams Realty. Their team specializes in helping people sell their house for top dollar, and buyers get great deals on the purchase of their home. That's what they did for me and my family, and I couldn't be happier that I hired them for my real estate transaction. Mike Rao from the mortgage firm is one of our favorite guests on the show, and he is the mortgage guy. Whether you're looking for a refi or a mortgage to purchase a new home, Mike Rao will get you the answers you need. The mortgage firm is licensed to do loans in Florida, Alabama, Tennessee, and Georgia, and they have local offices that cover all of South Florida. So if you're thinking about a refi or a new mortgage, go to the mortgage guy, Mike Rao, and find out what he can do for you. The Mortgage Firm, Inc., NMLS 189233, Florida license MLD 78, equal housing lender. The law office of Paul A. Krasker has been specializing in real estate law for nearly 25 years and has the professional team you need. Upside down with your house, Paul's team can help you conduct short sales, loan modifications, even if you're behind on payments. They also help you with foreclosure defense and bankruptcy. They can even help you get a student loan modification and repair your credit to get the score you need. Paul's full-service team has helped thousands of our listeners, and they can help you too. Trident Title LLC is the largest privately owned title company in Florida. When you need a title company to complete a refi, home purchase, or sale, Trident Title has got you covered. Not only do they offer competitive pricing, Trident Title has attorneys on staff to make sure if you have bumps in the road declaring title that you can get the job done. Beware, not all title companies in Florida have attorneys on staff. Trident Title does and complies with all the new federal regulations released last year. Ross Camaronets, owner of Brightway Insurance, has been helping our listeners get great rates on homeowners insurance plans. Haven't checked your homeowners insurance policy in a while? This is a great way to help reduce your monthly mortgage payment. Ross can also help with renters and auto insurance. Ross is only a phone call away and can usually get the answers you need same day.
Call Ross today at 561-425-6228 or drop by his office at 873 Donald Ross Road in Juno Beach.
So now you know why I'm happy to be part of the Florida Talk Real Estate Show, the longest running real estate show in Florida. And all these sponsors are just a phone call or a click away. Just call 888-973-7828. That's 888-973-7828. Or go to floridatalkrealestate.com. That's floridatalkrealestate.com. And don't forget to use the most accurate search engine to find your new home or ask for a free home valuation because floridatalkrealestate.com has you covered. That's floridatalkrealestate.com.
This is WCCR FM, West Palm Beach, Real Radio 92.1, powered by the law offices of Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Been in an accident? Call 1-800-747-FREE. That's 1-800-747-3733. This is Florida Talk Real Estate with Jim DePola and Johnny C. Got a question for the show? Call us live at 1-877-927-6969.
Yeah, that's your toll-free number. It's 877-927-6969. You're welcome to join us. We got another hour for you on this Saturday. Hour number 2 of 2 hours of infotainment. That's what we bring you every Saturday morning for 10 years now. Great to have you with us. And thank you for listening. 92.1, 101.7, wherever you might be. On your iHeartRadio app. That's a free download. We go live on Facebook, Florida Talk Real Estate on Facebook. Hello, everybody. And thanks for joining us on YouTube as well. Florida Talk Real Estate LLC. Lots of videos, information to be had there on our YouTube page. I'm Johnny C. I got Mike Rao, the mortgage guy from the mortgage firm, with us on this Saturday. Hello, Michael.
Hey, I'm here.
Here he is, present.
Sorry, was muted, but I saw it. I caught it in time.
Yeah, look, you're a professional, my friend. We are loaded with professionals. We got Paul Krasker with us. This is the guy with the name on the sign, law office of Paul A. Krasker. Always great to have Paul with us. Feels like it's been a little while, but man, it's always a pleasure. Paul, nice to see you on a Saturday. Thanks for being with us.
Yeah, it has been a while. It's been a crazy real estate market for the last 3 or 4 months.
You're kidding, huh?
Oh,
and
my gosh.
if you're looking on Facebook, you see Paul's desk. You know he is in the weeds, as they say, because he's a little slammed. Yep. Either, as Mike said, you're either doing the recycling in the building now, or you are buried.
Yeah, that's what Saturdays and Sundays are for.
Catch up, huh?
Yep.
Who needs rest? Who needs rest?
I think Paul meant he doesn't work during the week anymore. He just does Saturdays and Sundays. Yeah.
Thank you for translating, Michael.
That's how you get your name on the sign, right? Working like that, 2 days a week.
and of course Jimmy D's
Paul's
with
like,
us.
no comment.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave
Sorry,
that one lay. You leave that one lay out there. I'm gonna leave that be. Jimmy D's with us. Jim DePaula with Keller Williams Reserve Palm Beach. He runs the top producing Keller Williams team. Jimmy D, how you be?
Hey, all right. I'm looking at all that paperwork on Paul's desk right now, and me and Jarrett were joking around a couple of days ago because he had some. Yeah, Jared Perry from the Perry CPA Group and Player Performance First, the #1 sports agency at West Palm Beach.
Yeah.
Hey, by the way, yeah, West Palm Beach, we're it. No, but congratulations to Jared. He's been working really hard. He has an athlete named Sam Cunliffe. You should look him up, CUNLIFFE, Sam. His Instagram account is Sam I Am. Okay, and we've become really big fans, and I think we're going to create a new fan club called Sam We Am. For Sam I Am. But Sam just did a Pro-Am thing for this next draft, and he just did a Pro-Am game, and he scored 35 points, 7 assists, 7 rebounds, looking pretty good there against the pros. This kid's a college kid playing against the pros and kicking butt and taking names. Hopefully he'll do really well. But we were joking about the paperwork on Paul's desk because that looks very similar to Jared's desk right now, and I kept saying, Jared, the tax information, when am I going to get it? And yesterday he called up, or a couple days ago, he called up with a little bit of panic. He goes, look, Jim, I know I'm getting to you, but I promise I'm getting to you right now. It went, he goes, it's on my desk. It's finally made my desk. I go, oh, so I made it from the file cabinet to the floor in your office, and then from the floor of your office onto the actual desktop.
Trust the process.
You're in the desktop right now. You're in the desktop pile, so I'm almost there. So
everybody's got a system, Jim. Everybody's got a system.
Exactly.
Hey, Paul, for the Facebook fans, you're the stack there that's to your left on our right. What's that stack? Is that done or is that pending? Is that the inbox or the outbox?
Those are things that I have reviewed for somebody, and I'm waiting back to know whether the deal's moving forward or not. Those are just holds.
There you go. So that's a lot. That's a pretty high stack.
That's the hurry up and wait stack.
Yeah, the rest of that are actual deals that are going on. But this is I don't have to look at it until somebody calls me.
That's Paul's. Is this going to turn into some sort of money for me at some point? Jeez.
Possible money? Question mark. That's the question mark file. Hey, we're talking about missed mortgage payments with Paul Krasker from the law office of Paul E. Krasker. I just want to give a little background to people that haven't really known Paul that well, although he's been on our show for 10 years, is Paul, during the last foreclosure crisis that we had, Paul was one of the key influential leaders of helping consumers get through that time. There was just a tsunami of foreclosures going on, a lot of abuses by the banks at that point. And Paul was always there to fight the good fight, and his staff was always there to fight the good fight, to protect the consumers' rights and try to get them the best deal possible with the bank. And the thing that we love about Paul's philosophy and the way he sets up his office, he's not a one-trick pony. So he isn't just a bankruptcy guy or a foreclosure defense guy or a short sale guy or a loan mod guy. He's all of those guys. And what he tries to figure out is what's best to work for your situation and get the best deal he can for you for the bank in any way possible, any form possible that works for you, not what he one trick pony does. Okay. So when you call us and you're stressed out about not making your mortgage payments, and now maybe the bank, like Jack was, the bank is now saying, hey, it's time to start paying the piper, but he really doesn't know how that's going to look, and he doesn't know if he can afford it. And Jack's lucky because he says that he's back to employment again. But there's a lot of people out there that are not back to employment, and they've used up all their CARES Act benefits, and now the bank is going to say it's time to pay. What's going to happen to all those people? So you don't have to fight that fight alone. We know how many sleepless nights you're having. We know how it can affect your health, how it can affect the relationships, how it can affect your sleep, how it can affect so many things. And it doesn't have to be that way. Just one phone call, and we get the thing started. You don't know how many times I've heard, how many hundreds of times I heard during that foreclosure crisis when we were on the show. People called us. They ended up talking to Paul or somebody else from our staff, and they found out that, and they would say, this is the first night's sleep I've had, and I don't know how long. I feel so much better because now you have answers of what can happen instead of worrying about what happens. Now you have a plan. So just keep that in mind as we're going through all this. You're not alone. We're here for you. And the consultations, Paul, how much are the consultations to work to talk to you about all this stuff?
Free.
Right? Mike, if somebody wants to call up, and one of the options might be refi, right? So it is, if you're behind on the payments, maybe there'll be a program out there that will let you refi the house later. Who knows? How much would it cost to find out if refi is an option to go call you guys, right? Nothing.
Yeah, normal text messaging rate supply.
Yep, and when you're calling, the Florida Talk Real Estate team at Keller Williams Realty here at Ataris International, we're going to try to get you to all the professions that might be able to help you, so you could choose what's best for you and your family. So just understand that this is why we spend all this time working on all this stuff. So let me just go over numbers first, just to show you where we are in the, I don't want to call it a foreclosure crisis, but in the CARES Act COVID situation. Okay.
All right. 877-927-6969, toll free if you got a question and you'd like to join us.
Okay. So Fannie and Freddie Mac, this is only a report that's about 2 weeks old. So it's a pretty new report. Says the forbearances dropped to the lowest level since March 2020. And March 2020 is when the forbearances or the missed mortgage payments were starting to pick up compared to the normal market. March was about the time people were stopped missing their mortgage payments. And that was right around the time the CARES Act was put into effect. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was March 2020 when it went into effect. Right. So right now, what they're saying is about 1.9 people right now are behind on their mortgage payments. Now, that isn't necessarily just COVID protected mortgage forbearance, but anybody missing a mortgage payment. They think it's about 1.9 million people, which is pretty good. That brings us back to about April of 2020, because it was as high as, I think, 7 million people at one point were behind on their payments. So 5 million homeowners have gotten back on track. Johnny?
No, I'm good.
Jim, what's interesting when you look at the statistic from January of 2020 on who was in default, there was already a baseline of people who were in default. So the COVID-related impact is actually less than what you're talking about. So
right, because let's say, because Paul, we talk about it all the time on the show. So before COVID, we had about 3% of foreclosures and short sales on the market. I can't tell you how many were in play, but on the market it was about 3% of the market. So we already had a base of about 3% of people that were in trouble, roughly. Is that probably about right?
Right, and that's what I was saying is if we have 3% as a baseline, and then COVID brought it up to at one point, 13%, and it's back down to 4 or 5 right now. It's really just 2% COVID related.
Exactly. That's
assuming is that assuming, Paul, that all those people who were in the process is kind of in the cog before switched into the forbearance category, right, Jim? Because you're measuring, is it saying the amount of mortgages that are in forbearance?
Not in forbearance. Oh, good point. Wait, hold on.
There were some who switched in, but most just stayed in delinquency, knowing that the foreclosure moratorium exists.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, and the thing is that so this is all good signs. So a lot of people, you're hearing a lot of scuttlebutt on the street because everybody thinks that they know what's going to happen to the market right now. And even I don't know what's going to happen to the market right now. It's such a crazy market, right? I mean, we haven't experienced a market like this really. And
since 05-06.
Yeah, and I don't even know if you can compare it the same way because there's different factors involved, really different factors. You know what I mean? Like we're not expecting an avalanche of foreclosures to hit the market, but the layman people are thinking that. Paul, you're making a face. You're thinking there's going to be an avalanche?
No, I don't. But no, I don't think anybody in 05 or 06 expected an avalanche.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I'm thinking more like 08, 09 when the avalanche happened and we were trying to deal with it.
You can't get a market that's as crazy as it is today and as crazy as it was in 05 or 06 if people have concerns.
Yeah. So the thing is a lot of people think that, I'm going to wait until all the foreclosures hit the market and the market crashes, and I'm going to be able to gobble up houses super, super cheap, like they were able to do in 08, 09, all the way through 012, to 2012. You could still continue to do that. I don't think that's going to happen this time because, frankly, there aren't enough people that are in trouble with their mortgage.
Right.
There just isn't that avalanche there. We're talking about 1% to 2% higher foreclosure rate than what we had before COVID. The other thing is that
Jim, the numbers you're given are national numbers, right? These aren't Florida numbers, right? They're national.
These are national, right? Yes.
Hey,
and
Jim,
then,
can I ask a question? Because Paul just made a point there, and it got me thinking about it. So, Paul, you're saying the similarity to back then is that nobody thinks there's a problem,
right?
Because you can't be in this market if people are concerned about it.
Yeah.
So, but we did. I mean, I think in general, though, didn't we learn a lot of lessons from that market? Are you saying that those lessons have been forgotten?
No, I think that some of the lessons were learned. I think the bank certainly learned some lessons and been very, very protective of who they lent to and who they're continuing to lend to. And I think they limit their exposures in certain parts of the country and certain areas. So I don't think they'll ever be as tough as they were last time. And I don't think that they've got the kind of weak foundation that they had back then that nobody knew. So today, I think those banks could withstand a 20% drop in value, whereas last time, when there might have just been a 20% loss in value, what really happened is they panicked as well as the consumers panicked because they weren't in a position to accept a 20% loss.
I mean, I think the CARES Act in general, the extension of the CARES Act, and the policy decisions they're making to basically avoid foreclosure, is a really good sign that they did learn lessons, right? That they're like, wait a second, we need to make this about the homeowner this time, right? We need to make sure these homeowners aren't getting, rolled over or whatever by the lenders, by the banks.
Yeah, and I think they're also saying that we need to care for the economy at the same time, and if they have to give the banks some tax credits to roll it to the back end, it's well worth it to avoid a 20% drop in value and a 20% foreclosure rate from happening. And I think the other things that hopefully follow through is we're not going to have a 45 or a 50% drop in fair market value because there are people out there with money in their bank accounts waiting to buy properties that haven't been able to buy properties. So the first 10% of whatever goes on the market is going to get snapped up immediately, whether it's investors looking for rentals or homeowners looking for first homes or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm. Johnny?
So, it's fascinating as we make comparisons in between now and like 05, 06 and looking to what might happen with foreclosures compared to like 08 through 2012 after the collapse. If for the people that just bought in the last year, Paul, and they got great interest rates for sure, but obviously they were, the values were going up and people were going above even asking. If they lost 20% and you bought in the last year, how would the bank not view that as a quote toxic loan? Like they threw that term around so much in our last bust. How is that different? Is it just the foundation that we're built on?
Well, keep in mind that most people are putting 20% down in the marketplace. So
it's skin in the game.
If the value dropped, it's not the bank's loss, it's the homeowner's loss. And it's not like they have money to go buy another house and walk away from this one because all their equity is built up in that house.
All right, so it's all about skin in the game versus last time it was all the bank's losses. The people didn't have the money into the homes, so the banks viewed it as we're taking it on the chin.
Yeah, last time we were doing cash out construction loans where you could take money away from your closing of your house, have $30,000 in your pocket to go buy drapery.
Crazy.
Today, I think the banks are doing a much better job of making sure that people have money down, and if they're not putting a substantial amount of money down, that they're insured through Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, and that those entities have equity again to be able to withstand something like this in the future. So I think everybody feels like there's a safety net available, and I think that people are feeling more confident that if there's a slowdown, it's not going to be an avalanche, it's going to be a slowdown.
Yeah, I think what's going to happen is I could be completely wrong, but I think this is a realistic expectation when we go through the correction, which we will. I think what we're going to lose is pretty much all the equity we got during COVID. I think that's where we're going to end up. I think we're going to end up pre-COVID, and we're going to start from scratch from that point and start building equity again. So that isn't a crash. COVID probably increased us by 13 to 20%.
I was just saying, I had 14 in my head. I'm like, so we're gonna see a 14% dip.
I don't think it's going to happen overnight. I think it's going to be over time. And I agree with Paul. Those foreclosures, if they do come on the market, they're going to be very valuable to the economy. It's going to suck for the families that are selling the house. Don't get me wrong. But for the economy itself, the real estate economy, it's going to be good for everybody because we need that inventory right now. We desperately need it. So a lot of those foreclosures are just going to, are going to be scooped up immediately because there's just nothing out there. And the other thing is, most of the families, and I'm knocking on wood here, most of the families that have to sell, they're going to make money. They're not walking away destitute and go, where am I going to live after this? They're going to have enough money to pay first, last security on a rent. Mike, there's even ways that you said we were talking to somebody just a couple of days ago, and you said they were behind on their payments. If they were to sell the house and pay it off, in certain circumstances, they could go right back and buy a new home if they wanted to, right?
Right now, Fannie and Freddie's policy is that you essentially have to satisfy the terms of your, I don't even know what they're calling this, but the coming out of forbearance agreement, right? So whatever agreement you arranged with your lender coming out of forbearance, you have to satisfy that with 3 payments before you're eligible for a new conventional loan. But they've also put in there that paying off the mortgage in full, assuming you didn't have any late payments in between, is a satisfaction of that. So you're eligible for a new conventional loan immediately, right? So as long as you can sell it, positive equity position, or paying it off if you're short or whatever, not a short sale, but you can do a new conventional loan, which doesn't mean 20% down. It's nice if you have that, but you could do a conventional loan as low as 5% down. Of course, you're going to have to qualify, right? So there's probably, this is one of those things. There's probably a reason for some of these people that they could not continue, or couldn't make the payments coming out of forbearance, right? Whether their job stability hasn't returned, or their income just wasn't sufficient with whatever their new situation is. So, but yeah, if you're downsizing, or if you have another place to go to, those are great ideas. It kind of brings me to that question that I wrote down in my mind for Paul, and I think this is going to be a really important topic here, is assuming you're trying to deal with your lender, your loan servicer, and July 31st comes and you're not able to come to terms with them, obviously going to somebody like Paul's office. What happens if you start missing payments, right? While you're negotiating, yes, they're not going to foreclose, but what happens if you start missing payments? And maybe that's something. Number one, is there any policies about reporting lates to the credit bureaus? I haven't heard anything, so I'm assuming they're going to be reporting it. Sure. And then secondary, what's the traditional foreclosure process? Is it 1 month late, 2 months, 3 months? Like, when does the lender traditionally have the ability to file for that foreclosure?
So my guess is that the lenders are all going to voluntarily wait until January to file anything. And my guess is if they turn back and say, no, August 1 is your first payment that's due, and there'll be some leniency on when the August payment is made, and maybe even the September payment is made. But October 1, they're going to say, no, it's due on the 1st and it's late on the 5th, and there's a late fee associated with that, and it's 90 days. And after that 90 days, they're going to say, we've given you every opportunity to come forward and do loss mitigation. You haven't done it, or you've done it, but you haven't shown us any income that justifies resuming the loan. And there's no other way. We've gone through the loss mitigation, or we've tried to go through loss mitigation, and now it's foreclosure.
So let's
Jim, just real quick. So traditionally, just I want to get down to like what normally happens versus
I want to get into
here.
that too, but let's set a foundation first before we do that, okay? Because I want to get to that, because we haven't talked about that in years, like what happens, like they being served and all of that stuff. And I think that's really good stuff, Mike, so people can get used to it. But let's just go through the CFPB rules just real fast. So the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau is a federal regulatory watchdog agency that kind of overlooks, among other things, credit card companies and things like that, consumer debt, and mortgages. And they came out with some guidelines that they're recommending that the servicers take so that we don't have a crazy foreclosure situation like we did in the last cycle back in 08, 09. So a couple of things. What they're saying is, giving borrowers a meaningful opportunity to pursue loss mitigation options. Now, that's a handful, but what they're saying is loss mitigation could be a loan modification, a short sale, a short time forbearance with the contract that you put it back, that you get back current. All those options have to be looked at. Number two, they want people to allow the mortgage servicers to help the borrowers faster. Under a new temporary rule, servicers can offer streamlined loan modifications to borrowers with COVID-related hardships without making borrowers go through all the paperwork for the loan mod. We're going to go into that a little bit with Paul, because that could be a big deal. And the other thing is explaining the borrowers their options. So Paul was mentioning it earlier as an example, that the bank can't just say, this is what we want you to do, and that's it. You have to explore. Their guidelines are to review all options. And let me tell you, based on my experience back in the bad old days, the banks weren't telling you all your options. You know who told you all your options? Paul Krasker from the law office of Paul A. Krasker. They told you all your options, right? So that's really important to know. Now, the other thing I want to get into, I'm trying to wrap this up real quick so we could get back to Mike's process stuff. This is the thing I found very interesting. Here are the rules that are in place where homeowners exiting forbearance will be able to be pushed out of that program and go into a regular foreclosure process. Okay, they have 4 criteria that they've put in so far. Okay, in some cases, this guideline from the CFPB says, in some cases, foreclosures are not unavoidable, and under the CFPB's new rule, foreclosures will be able to start if the borrower has abandoned the property, was more than 120 days behind on their mortgage before March 1st, 2021. So they were behind 4 months pre-COVID. 2020. I'm sorry. Did I say 2021? I'm sorry. Yes, I said 2020. So March 1st, 2020, the beginning of the CARES Act. If you were 4 months behind before March 1st, 2020, you could be put into foreclosure automatically. Is more than 120, if a person is more than 120 days behind their mortgage payments and has not responded to specific required outreach from the mortgage servicer for 90 days, or has been evaluated for all options other than foreclosure, and there are no available options to avoid foreclosure. All of those reasons can have somebody be pushed out of the program. The one I'm most concerned about, Paul, is where they say, if you haven't responded to the bank for specific outreach for 90 days. That sounds a little loosey-goosey gray area to me.
Yeah, but I think when they say specific outreach, they're going to turn back to the bank and say, we want you to send a certified letter to the last address of record saying, please contact us immediately. Your forbearance has ended, and we need to come up with an alternative mitigation structure. Please contact us at X telephone number and wait 90 days. And if they don't, they can go forward with a foreclosure action.
Which is one of the things we always told people back during the last foreclosure crisis. I'm not saying we have one now, but when we did have one, what did we always say on the air? Talk to your bank.
Don't bury your head in the sand.
Don't ignore the phone calls. Open up your letters. Make sure you actually go to your mailbox and look for the letters. Like, don't avoid them. Don't have them sit there piling up on your desk and you think it's going to go away.
Nobody likes an ostrich.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes, it's so important. Hey, guys, I just want to say something real quick. We're getting a couple of 888 people calling about, there's a guy, Fred, calling about his roof. There's a guy named Al has a fix and flip question. We're going to try to get to all that right to the end of the show. So if you just hold tight online, we'll try to get to you. Okay.
You know, as you were just kind of setting up the options there, Jim, I'm feeling like, and Paul, you tell me, I'm feeling like if we get down this road and, you know, we're seeing these foreclosures pop up, there's going to be options for folks. I feel like in this market, short sales probably not going to be a really good option for so many folks. Do you think short sales are going to be prevalent again for these people?
Yeah. So let's just be clear about one thing. The only person who wants to go through a foreclosure less than the property owner is the bank.
Sure.
The bank always loses. They may not lose financially. They get hammered in the court of public opinion, and they've learned in the past that they can't be looked at as evil institutions. They've got to be looked at as protectors of our monetary system, etc. So they don't want to take these properties back. They know after a foreclosure, people trash the houses. They pour cement down the toilets. They put, they
steal the copper. They steal the copper, which is very expensive right now.
Yeah. So it's another $50,000 loss for a bank when they have to turn around and either improve it and then sell it at market value, or just flip it, let somebody else bid at the auction. So these aren't good alternatives. And if there's a short sale where there's not, an insider fraud issue that they're trying to avoid, if there's a short sale, they're open to it. I think it will still be one of the top options for them, so that they don't take title to the property. It goes from one party to another. They get as much as they were going to get for the property. They can afford to take losses, and all they're trying to do is just minimize the losses. And in today's market, with the highest and best use for the property, I think that's the best way to go.
Yeah, minimizing the losses. Why? Because I mean, obviously, I wasn't really in the trenches with you guys ever, but making radio every Saturday, I feel like the short sale process was 8-10 months. Like, it wasn't a quick process.
Yeah, it's moving now at 120-day clip.
Oh, wow, that's great.
Yep, and there isn't a flood of it, which is why it's going through. And I'm sure the banks kept their best short sale employees to be able to handle the flow. And if it triples in volume, those people are going to get stressed, and they're going to have to bring on other people and train them, and it's going to slow down necessarily. But it's still their best option as opposed to foreclosure.
Yeah,
absolutely. So let's go through this process. Okay. I think this will be fun, and it'll also be educating for everybody. Let's go through the process of what happens when a bank decides that they're going to foreclose on you. Go through the step-by-step process, and then go through so that people would know what to expect if that happens to them. And then also, like, what the options would be, the waterfall. We used to call it the waterfall of options. We go through this waterfall process to find out the best option for the homeowner. So, Paul, let's say that the homeowner has missed. Typically, a foreclosure normally happens on the 91st day. which means the banks in Florida legally can file a foreclosure after you miss 3 months of payments, correct?
So yeah, and you'll get letters before that. You know, you miss your payment. They after the 15th day, you know, did we miss your payment? Did you try to make a payment in the month of July? We didn't get anything. It's now past the 15-day grace period. Please pay the fee plus the penalty. And they start with language saying, if you have questions, call this 800 number. We're here to help you work through things. If there's a problem, tell us about it. Let's find a solution. And then the next month they'll get another letter. Boy, you know, we're sorry you didn't respond to our last letter. If you've moved, hopefully this catches up to you in the postal system. Please call us at this number right away. And then the 90-day letter will say, you're 3 months behind in your payments. We hereby accelerate the loan, and the full amount is due as of this date. If it's not paid within 30 days of the date of this letter, we will begin foreclosure action against you. And then 31 days from then, they'll send it to the foreclosure mill, and they will send out a foreclosure complaint to the courthouse, and they will get a summons from the judge. That means that they can send a service of process guy to your house to deliver the summons and complaint.
So let me stop you there, Paul. That's a perfect place for a segue, or not a segue, but just a point of information. So a lot of times back in the day, people always thought they were outsmarting the banks by not taking the service.
Yeah.
So they were playing, you know, they were dodging the service person, saying, well, they can't find me, so they can't foreclosure. So can you explain that? Because, you know, that's an old wives' tale kind of thing. Can you just say, what happens if they're trying to hunt you down to say, hey, you're served, and you're trying to avoid them? Does that really help anything for the homeowner?
You know, it gives you a short-term extension of your problem, but the reality is it paints you as a bad actor to the judge who's overseeing your case, which is a problem for you. And eventually, if they can show good faith in their attempts, we've gone to the house 2 times during the day, 2 times at night. We've heard people inside. Nobody answers the door. We saw the TV on, yet nobody would come to the door. Your Honor, they're avoiding service. Please allow us to publish. And once that judge allows a publication, it's fast-tracked. And if you don't step in and hire an attorney to stop it, they'll get a default judgment in 30 days. They'll get a summary judgment in another 30 days. And they'll have a foreclosure date scheduled, you know, after 90 days.
So this just gets back to the proactiveness, okay? Proactive.
Yeah,
when you
and
start,
then these people always come in, hire an attorney 2 days before the foreclosure date, and say, Your Honor, what's going on here? Nobody ever talked to us. Nobody ever came to the house. I never heard a thing. And they have this you know, police officer who testifies at the reinstatement hearing and says, no, Your Honor, that's the individual I saw get out of his car. I walked towards him. He ran to the house and slammed the door in my face.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're sitting there in a hearing trying to stop the foreclosure sale, saying, I never had my due process. And the police officer says, due process? I knocked on the door 3 times. The guy wouldn't answer the door. I left a complaint on the front doorstep. He knew what it was, and he knew, you know, that everything was going forward. And we mailed the default judgment to his address. We mailed this. And the judge says, were you sitting in your house this whole time? Yes. Are you living there now? Yes. Did you see a foreclosure complaint on your front doorstep? No. Who do you think took it away from your front doorstep?
Paul, I wonder how many
neighborhood.
people, I wonder how many of the listeners out there you're giving flashbacks right now. Because I bet you there's a good percentage that went through that, like starting with the description of the 30-day letter, the 60-day, like how many people went through that process back in the day, and you just ran chills up their spine.
Mike, I just closed, and Paul and Short Sale Innovations helped this family. Rick and his wife Peggy, we just closed on the sale of an estate sale for a condo from their mother. But Rick was one of the early short sales we did with Paul Krasker and Short Sale Innovations. And we saved his butt, and we were talking about it because that's the one where we actually tried to entitle how to actually go to the hospital to get the buyer to sign the documents right before he was going in for kidney stones, emergency kidney surgery. We had to go to the hospital before he went under anesthesia to sign the documents because the judge wouldn't grant us any more extensions. And Kinley, I made Kinley go to court. He didn't want to, but I made Kinley go to court for an emergency hearing, and he said no, but the owner paid for it. And we brought the buyer, the buyer's agent, the husband and wife buyers, and the 4 kids into court, drug them into court, begging the judge from the buyer's point of view, because I was a listing agent, to please don't foreclose on this house, or this family is going to lose it. And then the judge granted us the extension. So they when we started talking about that, Mike, they didn't want to talk about it anymore. It's like I try to forget those days.
Yeah. Hey, I think it's instructive to give some people some sort of deadlines or time frames where, we talk about you can't have your head in the sand. In my mind, you have to make a determination whether or not you can stay in your home or not, right? Based on, do you have the ability to pay whatever it is that you're going to have to pay coming out of forbearance? And from a lending perspective, the worst thing you want is any of those major events, right? Even a short sale, foreclosure, bankruptcy, all those things will limit your ability to get a loan for the, in the coming years. But even late payments, reported late payments on your credit report, which I don't know when they're going to start reporting those, but at some point they will. Those are going to impact your ability to get approved for a mortgage, may even impact your ability to get approved for rentals in certain rental communities or even with private owners who are going to look at that stuff. So there's got to be some sort of deadline where you're like, hey guys, you're coming out, July 31st, you need to be on the phone with your lender. If you can't come to some sort of arrangement, you either got to go to Paul, right? Or you got to go to Jim, right? Everyone, that's another major factor. People have equity. I know we were talking short sales, but there's a lot of people still in a positive equity position. But you either got to go to Paul if you want to stay in your home, or you got to go to Jim if you've come to that hard realization, or maybe you go to Paul and then to Jim, something
you got
like
to
that.
go to all of us. You got to go to all of us to figure out. So let's just go back. So now that you're served, okay, they either served you, or they put it in the paper because you're avoiding them, and then after they put it in the newspaper, now they can go ahead and file the go forward with the foreclosure because you've been noticed. So then, Paul, during that time period, it's so important. We know this is so important that the owner, at least by that point, to pick up the phone and call and ask for help at that point, because they have more options. The more we do this, the more options they have, the earlier we get into this process.
Yeah. So I think we've gone too far ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I think the time to pick up the phone is not when you're avoiding service. The time to pick up the phone is before the July 31st deadline, or worst case scenario, before you're going to miss the August payment. Then if it's due on August 1st and there's a 15-day grace period, you've got to talk to them before August 15th. Now, I'm so happy if people can get it taken care of without using my services, and I really mean that. It's absolutely terrific if they call up and they get the great news from the person saying, we'll put it all on the back end, and we'll even put the escrow on the back end, and don't worry about things, sir. August 1's your date, and just make the regular payment. My guess is that there's a portion of the people who don't have the money to make that August 1 payment still.
Right.
Those are the people who my sense, and this isn't me pitching for revenue, my sense is that's the time to call me.
Yes.
Because the bank's going to try to push them into whatever's best for the bank, and they need to know what their alternatives are. And that's the time to get around a table and say, okay, this is your revenue moving forward. This is what we think you might earn in the future if things keep going well. This is what you could earn if things don't go well. And let me tell you what your loss mitigation opportunity is for a modification, for a short sale, for foreclosure defense for 6 months to see if your income goes up, and then we can apply for a mortgage. All of those various solutions. Are there other debts that we can take care of that eliminate some of the pressure so that you can get some more payments to the mortgage? I mean, I see all sorts of people during the COVID where they ran up their credit cards.
Yep.
Because they were having fun without making a mortgage payment, and now it's time to pay the piper.
Yep.
You got to go back and pay that mortgage company, and a lot of people have a simple question of, which one should I do? Should I pay the mortgage or should I pay this credit card? I don't want them to cut off my credit card. That's my fun money, but what's going to happen over here?
This is some of the biggest mistakes I saw being made back in the day when everybody was in trouble with their mortgages by not talking to all the different professions. They were making decisions without talking to the right professions. So, like, for example, some people may have made the choice of paying off the credit card or paying the credit card over the mortgage payments when you actually went through their situation, it was very clear that they should have done the opposite, right? And it was too late by then. Thousands and thousands of dollars had been spent of their money, and now it wasn't going to the right places. So a normal waterfall process for us, and this is what makes us different than calling a lot of other groups, is that we have a mortgage company. We have a legal service company with Krasker Law. We have the real estate company, okay? So what we can do with that, when you come to us, we're not going to – the first question we're going to ask you is, okay, so you're behind on the payments. Can you afford to make your regular mortgage payment if that was offered to you? If you just forgot everything that happened, could you just go back to your regular mortgage payments? The other question we would ask is, do you want to keep the house for sure? Or do you want to keep the house if you can afford it? Do you want to keep the house at all costs? Or are you willing to let the house go if you can't work out with the bank? Then based on that, let's say you want to keep the house. Then what we're going to do is we're going to get you to Mike to see if there's any refi programs out there for you. Because by then, there may be government programs for you. We had a government program back in the day called HARP, H-A-R-P. We don't know. Maybe there'll be another kind of government program that we can point you to that will get you out of the jam to keep the house, right? Now, if that doesn't work, and this is assuming you've already worked with the bank and it hasn't worked, you go, so if the refi doesn't work, then we bring you over to Paul. Maybe Paul can work out an agreement with the bank to get you what's called a loan modification. A loan modification is when you're keeping the terms of the loan, you're keeping the original loan you have intact, the one that's been damaged by the missed payments, but you're renegotiating the terms of that loan, keeping the loan in effect, but the terms are changed to make it affordable for the homeowner to live there. Now, back then, when we used that government program, there was a mathematical formula of how much they wanted the person to pay for the mortgage payment. And I think it was 31% of their income back then, if I'm not mistaken. It's been a long time. But they try to keep your mortgage payment to about 30% of your income. And there was a way to calculate that income. And if you didn't calculate that income right, you might have not been negotiating the bank with the best terms. And Paul was able to do that for you. Then let's say that you try to do the loan mod and it doesn't work, and the refi didn't work. Well, your next option may be, is to go ahead and sell the house. If the house is not upside down, you make the profit on the house when you sell. You pay off the bank plus their payments, and then you keep the money. If the house is upside down, where what you owe is more than what it's worth, then you might be able to do a short sale where you negotiate with the bank to sell the house for less than what it's worth, and the owner's big benefit to that is to get a waiver of deficiency where they walk away debt-free. Now, there's a bunch of other stuff in the middle there that I didn't go into that could even get more granular. Sometimes it's better maybe to do a foreclosure defense, like Paul mentioned, to try to stay off the foreclosure while you're trying to get better employment or something. That might be an availability to you. Another one might be bankruptcy, using a bankruptcy restructure to keep the house if you want to keep it. All of these options are available to people to look at, but you need the professionals to sit there. So don't sit there late at night thinking, oh my God, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Just pick up the phone and call us, and we're going to help you find out what's best for your family.
Yeah, FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. You'll find the hotline 888-973-7828. You can go to plenty of people that have one tool in the belt, or you can go to this team. You know, the office of Paul A. Krasker has a whole belt full of tools, lots of options, and obviously with the team, we offer other options as well. FloridaTalkRealEstate.com.
Yeah,
you want to go ahead, Paul.
Talked about that in the past, where if all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail.
Yeah.
And that's, and I criticize the bankruptcy attorneys for that, because that's the most common problem, is everything solved by bankruptcy. But then people come to me after bankruptcy and they say, my bankruptcy attorney didn't tell me that I'd have to have a foreclosure after my bankruptcy. And, he just got me off the debt, but the mortgage is still on my house, and now the bank's foreclosing. And I say, how could they not tell you about that? I mean, that's the whole point. And the bankruptcy guy says it's not going to be any more bad credit for me because my credit's already bad. Just let them foreclose.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God.
I know.
So you really got to think it through and take it one step at a time.
Jim, you made a comment earlier. You said the lenders were not telling you all your options. It was Paul Krasker who was telling you all your options. You know why that is? The lenders didn't know all the options. Right? The lenders didn't even know what options the consumers had at the time. And the bankruptcy guys don't know all the options. And it just still holds true.
In fairness, the banks didn't know the circumstances of the borrowers.
Sure.
Most of them weren't communicating. And, if you don't hear from somebody for 6 months, you got no other choice than to foreclose. And especially when the borrowers called up and told them just what they thought the bank wanted to hear, then they're not giving you all of the options. They're just giving what they're giving the option they're asked to respond to. So
I want to just switch gears here, because this is also saving money for consumers that are in tight times. Student loan debt. I know we only got, Johnny's holding up 3 minutes. I'm going to do less than 3, okay? But I'm just going to bring it up so people know.
You should apologize to the callers if they're still there.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I think they got off, and we're gonna answer all your questions off air, I promise. But here's the thing with student loan debt. Right now, part of the CARES Act is allowing you to stop making your student loan payments. I don't know when the program ends for that either, but that's still going on. Oh, at least through September.
Yeah,
and I think it's going to be through the end of the year for sure. But that is not the best program out there, guys. The best program is the one that Paul's been doing for years and years and years. It's a government-backed program for student loan modifications. All you have to do is tell Paul how much income you make. He checks out to make sure you're government-backed student loan, and he can tell you guaranteed, as long as you give him the information that you give him that he needs is correct, he can tell you to the penny what your monthly obligation is on the student loan debt, because it's based on your ability to pay, not what you owe. It's on your ability to pay. And we've seen many, many people come to us with $500, $800 a month payments and paying less than $200 a month. And there's many, many people who come to us and have $0 a month payments that count towards the payments you need to make for the term of the loan. And the zero payments count.
Just to reiterate that, Jim, and I know we only have a little bit, but throughout this entire COVID process, we've been doing the applications for the forgiveness programs, both for government employees and others. And now most people who came to us are 1 year closer to be having their student loan debt forgiven with a zero payment for the first year.
Wow.
And if we get it renewed quick enough, it's going to be a zero payment for the second year. So that could mean just 8 years of payments once the economy kicks back around for them.
And the difference is under the CARES Act, you still cannot make those payments, but it doesn't count towards the term of the loan. You're just kicking the can down the road.
And the interest rate is still accruing.
And the interest rate's still accruing. So you got to call us. If you got saddled with student loan debt, you got to give us a call. If you're in trouble with your mortgage payment, you got to give us a call. I know I sound like a car salesman here, but it matters because we care.
Yeah, we really do. Refinance, looking to buy a home, sell your home. You got issues you need to deal with. We can handle it. Check on your property insurance. We got a full team of pros. You'll find them all at floridatalkrealestate.com. Thank you very much for being with us on this Saturday. Thanks for the phone callers and your patience. Mike Rao, have a great weekend.
Thanks, Johnny.
Paul
Thanks, everybody.
Krasker, please do the same.
Enjoy.
And Jim DePola, have a great weekend, my friend.
Thanks, Johnny. Have a great weekend.
Jimothy, thanks for everything. He's going to stick around with Greek, and they're going to bring you the locker room. It's coming up in your next 4 hours of radio magic. Thanks for being with us on a Saturday. We're back at it next Saturday. 2 hours of infotainment, 9 to 11. It's Florida Talk Real Estate right here on Real Radio.